Freddy here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. In this episode, I will be doing an unboxing and a first impression of the K-Bar Mark I Fighting/Utility Knife. Here's what the clamshell type packaging looks like. I believe this also comes in a box. Most importantly, it is made in America, in Olean, New York. Does state it's 1095 Crovan blade, so 1095 high carbon steel. Sheath is included, and it has an oval shaped handle. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. I already opened this up to make the video shorter. The one thing I didn't open up was the sheath. And since I got the sheath in my hand, we'll go ahead and take a look at it first. This is FRN, which is fiberglass reinforced nylon, for those of you who are just starting to watch all of these knife and gun videos here on YouTube. But it's very well made. Good, thick, sort of ballistic style nylon here. And well, it does have a lot of planes to lock your knife in. Let's go ahead and put this in here. And you can see you have these two notches that'll get behind your handguard on the knife. So even with just that, it's not going nowhere. And to get it out, you would push on this hand, on the back of this sheath here, to move those two notches out. To really secure it, you have that there, and you have another one here. So this knife is not going anywhere. This might be the most secure sheath I've ever encountered in my knife collecting life. Absolutely amazing. And you can see that the nylon is riveted very well, very wide rivets in there to the FRN. So it seems like it's very well constructed. You also have many holes and slots here for all your gear mounting needs. So this is a remake of the ever popular and sought after knife issued to the Department of the Navy during World War II. And just to show you a comparison, this is what was issued to the Marines, or actually not this, but during World War II. This is probably what was issued to the Marines, where you had the stacked leather type handle. But in the modern day, one of the remakes that K-Bar has done is with different handle material that is more weather resistant and longer lasting than the leather, although these stacked leather handles last a very long time. They do quite well. But this is Kraton is what they call it. It's a rubbery plastic out of acrylic stuff. So that's a remake of the Marine fighting knife, modern day. And this is a remake with the Krylon instead of the stacked leather of the Navy issue World War II K-Bar style knife. So the obvious difference is the length. The Marines were issued a longer 7-inch knife, and I guess they didn't trust us Navy folks with such a big knife, so they only gave us a 5 1/8 inch long knife. However, they did trust us with the same stock. It's the same thickness, so they start out with the same thickness. So this is actually a pretty sturdy blade, considering they're using the same blade stock, or blade stock. Now another immediate difference is if you look at this, the grind on here only goes halfway, not even halfway up on the Marine knife, although it is flat ground. Here you have a grind that goes all the way up to the top, and it's flat. Now this could be an issue with some of you who have sharpening devices that clamp onto the blade, because it won't center itself right. So that's one thing to consider when buying this knife. This is not ideal for the kind that sort of clamp onto the back of the blade. Now they do have serrated versions and plain edge versions, and obviously this is a half serrated version. As stated before, it is made in, so there we are, Olean, New York, K-bar, and there is the USN Mark 1, and this is for fighting and utility. And it can do both well. Now one thing this can't do well is batoning. I would not recommend batoning with a flat grind all the way to the top type of blade. And let me talk about my philosophy behind this, because after some personal tests and also watching on the internet some other folks' tests, I've come to the conclusion that when you're sort of batoning down a piece of wood, you want a blade that has a hollow grind, just like that. And the reason, and of course I'm exaggerating, but the reason why is if you ever look at a log splitter, that's the same type of shape. And as you're cutting down your piece of wood, like let's say this is the piece of wood that you're splitting with the knife, the top part here, you'll have very little contact at the very top of that wedge that'll be slowly forcing the piece of wood apart as you're pounding your knife down, which sort of saves your edge there. Also, if you had a flat grind in here, let's say this, you had a flat grind sort of like that, you're going to have much more contact going on between the wood that you're splitting and the knife itself, which would make it harder to sort of work its way down, and your edge would be taking a lot of impact too. So that's my philosophy and why these flat grind all the way to the top type of blades are not very good for batoning. Plus the length of this is not really ideal for batoning anything but very small pieces of wood out there. So this is a good little camping type of knife, or if you're in the Navy and you want to reminisce about old times, this is a good knife, but a good camping kind of knife. Now, as with the marine fighting knife, you can see that you have a pummel on the back. It appears that the pummel is about the same size, and the blade itself has part of it sort of extending all the way through the handle, but it's not a full tang, it's a full length tang, because you can see that it's not the same width as the handle. And then the pummel is pinned to the back of that full length tang. So this could take some moderate abuse, banging and everything, but if you really start going to town, like crazy, almost abuse type of stuff, you'll probably eventually break that pin pounding on this, unless you're keeping your pounding very centered. But if you start getting off, you're probably going to eventually bust that pin. Now let's take a look at the handle. Because of the shape of the handle, your hand really locks in. You got a hand guard here, so if you're holding it like you're supposed to be, you don't have to worry about slipping. Reverse grip feels adequate, feels good. I have big hands. You can see I'm just about filling up that handle. You can see in relation to the marine fighting knife where I have a little bit of space there. So the handle's a little bit smaller, but still, if you have really large hands, you might be pushing it, but it seems to be doing pretty good. Sorry I'm sniffling in the camera. My allergies are out of control. So this is not really an extremely heavy knife. It's a 0.45 pounds. Again, $10.95 for your steel, high carbon steel. And the angle of the edge is 20 degrees. This is a clip point style blade. And the coating is a powder coat, epoxy powder coat, which is pretty tough. It's pretty good. It does eventually come off. You can see I did sort of take off some on this one with some light use, and then I also did some weird sharpening. I changed the angle of the edge of that one a little bit. Anyway, and for those of you who would like to know the thickness of both of these knives, blade stock, it is 0.65 inches thick. 0.165 inches thick. Alright, let's do a paper test. So, it comes pretty sharp out of, oops, out of the packaging, out of the box. And we'll go ahead and do a close pass on here so you can take a really close look at everything. Now if you notice, the handle is sort of cut in a little bit here. The same thing goes with the regular marine fighting knife. They did the same thing. And I really like this because when you're trying to do precision work and you want to really choke up on that handle, if it were wide it'd be kind of awkward. So by thinning it out like that, it does make for easier fine work. Now because this has the serrations, we could go ahead and do a 550 cut test. Take a look at that. Look at that, it got caught in the choil there. Well, it doesn't quite do very well as some other serrations. I'm not very impressed. You might be better off cutting 550 cord with the plain edge. So the serrations, although I sort of thought I'd like them because they're rounded, they don't seem to do very well cutting 550 cord. It sort of gets caught in that very deep serration there, or the choil. It probably does well with thicker cord. So there you have it. The K-Bar Mark I Fighting/Utility Knife. Remake of the World War II Navy knife. This knife really takes me back to the old Navy days when I didn't have to wear glasses. Bet you wondering why I wasn't wearing my glasses, just so I could do that. Do have a Navy retirement hat. So anyway, really good knife if you like the styling and you like the name K-Bar and you like the that it's made in the USA, but it seemed to be too big and you were looking for something a little bit smaller with the same styling. This knife could be for you. So thank you very much for joining me here at the Gear Obsession channel. I really appreciate every friend, viewer, subscriber, and oops, I forgot to tell you how much it cost. I'm sorry. You could probably get it around $45 to $50. Thank you for reminding me. And again, I think it's a very good buy. So sorry about that, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye.